Welcome to the project trailer for Soon to Mars. This project for Biology 20 will cover outcomes from the energy and matter in the biosphere unit, as well as photosynthesis and the cellular respiration unit. This project, like all the projects, will have a theme. And the theme here is Journey to Mars and heading to Mars, heading to the red planet, and figuring out how can we colonize the red planet? How do we create a mini Earth on another planet? What do we need? What makes Earth special, and how might Mars be able to work for us? So you're going to look at everything from matter cycling to energy flowing. So you're going to look at biogeochemical cycles. You're also going to look at photosynthesis and cell respiration and how that gets energy into our system and moves energy through our system. So like I mentioned, Mars is a big theme in this project, and I have a short video to show you.
Here at DNews, we're obsessed with Mars, and we kind of
talks
think
a little
you
bit
are
about
too.
Mars.
We kind of think everyone is. Ever since the Romans named the planet after their god of war, it's been used in fantastical tales in literature, radio, TV, and film. Gulliver traveled there, men are supposedly from there, and the term Martian is inspired by the planet's name. So why are we so obsessed? Well, maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson said it best. So much of what drives cosmic exploration involves the quest to learn whether or not we're alone in the universe. And though there have been some significant advances in the race to Mars, as of today we really only have some pictures of the planet and a limited amount of data from rock samples. So some could say we really haven't gotten that far. But I'm already getting ahead of myself. Let's rewind back. In the 60s, there was a good handful of attempts to see Mars. Now, I say attempts because they pretty much all failed until Mariner 4 in 1965. The spacecraft spent just 25 minutes flying by Mars, but in that time it took 21 pictures, like this one. For the next 20 years, there were more missions to Mars and thousands of more pictures, but also a significant number of failures, expensive failures. After losing communication with the Mars Observer in 1993, a spacecraft costing an estimated $813 million, NASA decided enough was enough. In NASA's own words, "We've tried to do too much too fast. We've lost sight of how difficult space exploration is. We've had too many mission failures which must be fixed." And that fix turned out to be something called FBC, which doesn't really need any complex scientific explanation. It's simple: faster, better, cheaper. And with that kind of mentality, NASA developed a method called aerobraking, or using the friction of another planet's atmosphere to control a spacecraft's orbit, which has saved lots of money and fuel. Aerobraking is used with the more recent Mars Odyssey and Reconnaissance Orbiter, which has played a big part in learning about the existence of water on Mars. Since then, the rover Curiosity has been our primary source for collecting data on the mysterious red planet. Curiosity is using some pretty cool tools to test rock samples, which actually tells us quite a lot. For example, the Curiosity can cook Martian rock up to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. Depending on what temperature the sample breaks down, we can determine what compounds exist in Mars' surface. While Curiosity is still chugging along on Mars, here on Earth, NASA is planning a new mission called InSight, a lander designed to study the interior structure of Mars. Of course, it really wouldn't be a race without competitors. Big players like China are hoping to send a rover to Mars, and Russia is looking to send trained monkeys there. But there are also smaller organizations in the running, like non-profit Inspiration Mars, who are working to send a middle-aged couple to fly by the red planet, or Elon Musk's organization SpaceX, who hope to pioneer round trips to Mars via reusable spacecrafts. And then there's the highly controversial Mars One, which has big plans to establish a permanent human settlement. But this race is a costly one, not just in terms of the billions of dollars that these projects need to get off the ground, but also the time and manpower that is required. Perhaps those involved in the race to Mars can work faster, better, and cheaper through collaboration. Maybe the key to finally finding Martians is doing a better job of working together as Earthlings.
So that little video is a great example.
So
Oh,
we get to
sorry.
talk about stories of space.
A good example of why we should be excited about Mars exploration. So this project is going to assess a number of outcomes, and you're going to be having to demonstrate an awareness and an understanding of each of the following essential outcomes, and they'll be in more detail throughout the project. So don't worry about being overwhelmed by all of them right now. It's just to give you an idea of what you're going to be covering in this project. So you're going to be able to explain the flow of energy and the cycling of matter, what the biosphere is, what it means to be an open system, and explain how this maintains equilibrium. I would say that's like the umbrella of the whole project. Everything fits under that. So you're going to start by looking at energy and how energy is absorbed by the sun, from the sun by plants. And we've learned about photosynthesis in science for years, and now you're going to get to know what those chloroplasts actually do. You're going to learn about that biochemical reaction in chloroplasts called photosynthesis. So it's a two-step reaction. It can be quite complex. We're going to look at kind of a middle of the road complexity in terms of that reaction. Then you're going to learn about how energy from the plant, when I eat a plant, how do I turn that glucose that's stored in that plant into ATP, which is what my body used to do the processes of life. You're also going to look at matter and how how matter moves, I guess I should say, how matter moves on Earth and how it cycles and never really ends. The cycle goes forever and ever and ever. And if you think about it, it could kind of blow your mind that you could be potentially drinking water that, say, a dinosaur also drank, or that made up the microbiology of a dinosaur. So you're also going to look at how can we explain flow of energy and exchange of matter quantitatively? So what kind of biology models or ecological models can we use to do that? So that would be pyramids of numbers, biomass, mass and energy, kind of like graphs. And then you're also going to look at the connection between energy flow, matter cycling, and how productive an ecosystem is. And you're going to do that all while thinking about, what am I learning about the Earth, and how could I take that information and make a colony on Mars? So if that couple actually lands on Mars, or if the Mars One project, or say the SpaceX project, actually go through and people are going up to Mars, where are they staying? Can we create another Earth-like biosphere on another planet? So that's what you're going to think about throughout this whole project is, as you're learning, what can I take away so that I can create a colony on Mars? 4 parts to this project plus your final product. The biosphere is part 1. So just learning about Earth and what it means, what the biosphere means and the parts of the biosphere. Part 2 is going to focus on that energy flow, that energy transfer. So you're going to spend some time not just understanding that when I eat a producer, this is what happens to the energy flow. You're going to look at specifically, how do producers get energy from the sun into the plant? Part 3 is going to look at the cycles of matter, and you're going to focus on nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, carbon, and oxygen, as well as water. And these are called the biogeochemical cycles. The name is not coincidental. Biogeochemical, they're chemicals in the earth and in living things, and they cycle back and forth. The 4th part is kind of bringing it all together for you. You're going to look at how equilibrium or homeostasis on earth is maintained. So how do we have relationships between producers and consumers, the abiotic and biotic components of the world, the living and the non-living on earth, and how they keep these things flowing, energy flowing and cycling of matter. And then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to take everything you learned in the project, and for your final product, you're going to show your teacher that you understand what you would need to include to make sure that your colony on Mars is a self-sustaining Earth-like ecosystem.